out, and Randy Moss, without even really being able to run, as he shoots the moon to the
pass, pumps to the left, 8 seconds left. He gets away from the pressure, fires to the end zone. It's hot! It's Greg Lewis! Oh my heavens! Greg Lewis's first catch has given the Minnesota.
Four, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, what's up, Vikings fans? Welcome back to another episode of House Calls with Skull Dog, brought to you by Minnesota Sports Talk. Joining me, as always, is Dave. Dave, you ready for the big game?
Yeah, man. I want to. This is a revenge game for us. We just can't win in Seattle, and I wish Vikings fans would stop posting bad memories of Seattle games on Twitter because it just depresses me. But there were some. They had to go way back, the Wayback Machine, to show us some wins. Those were nice to see. And but hey, I think it's a real big milestone test for us to go play a decent team on the road out west in Seattle, considering that it may be a situation where we got to go out and play them or the Rams or somebody out west. So it's a good benchmark for us.
Yeah, it's been a real house of horrors just playing in Seattle. And it seems like, for whatever reason, the Vikings have had to go to Seattle almost year after year. And so fighting through the Legion of Boom years and, Pete Carroll just out-coaching the Vikings every game. Last week, Green Bay overtook that stadium. And apparently that's nothing new. So what I've heard is that there's a lot of quote-unquote tech money that's kind of come into the area and bought up a lot of those tickets, and they just sell them all to, whoever. So that's how Green Bay kind of overtook that stadium. But that's a team, I think they're 3-5 at home this year. So maybe Seattle's lost a little bit of that 12th man, that they've been known for forever. And maybe it's not a, as difficult place to play anymore.
Well, that's good. I mean, I didn't even hear that angle, but yeah, like Google. I used to work for Google, and we had a main office there. My boss's boss on conference calls was calling from that area. But yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. And but do you think Vikings fans are traveling to Seattle though? I don't know.
I mean, Vikings fans travel pretty damn well.
They do.
They give them credit. They've overtaken the Rams Stadium in LA earlier this year.
A little farther south.
Yeah, I hear you, but I wouldn't count it out.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a contingent there. I mean, it was decent in Miami when they came here. They've had better, they had better showings in other stadiums, but Miami was pretty good, and Tennessee and all that. Yeah, maybe they, and it's never been higher. The feelings about the Vikings has never been higher for a long time.
I was just going to say they're 12-2. That's, you're going to want to go see a team that's 12-2. So if you're a Vikings fan living in Seattle, this is the time to go see them. So I think that they will be well represented, more than expected. Do I expect what the Packers did last week, where you could hear the "Go Pack Go" chants pretty easily over this, the broadcast? That would be nice. I hope for that. I don't know that we can guarantee that, but that would be nice.
My litmus test is I haven't saw as many people going, "Oh, I just landed in Seattle" on Twitter. I haven't seen any of those, or a picture in the plane, or I got my Vikings gear on. I'm about to get on the plane to Seattle. I haven't seen those. So yeah, maybe that's why I'm a little not sure about the people going there or not, but there'll be people there because people do live out west and they will go to the game. And so, yeah, it might happen.
Well, let's jump into the matchup here. Admittedly, the Seattle Seahawks are not a team that I've watched a whole lot of this season. And my general setup is, I'll have the Vikings game on. I'll typically have either the Bears or the Packers game on a different screen, keeping tabs on them. And then I got the red zone on. So I haven't watched a whole lot of the Seahawks. That whole NFC West division has kind of been bouncing between Seattle and the Cardinals, kind of owning the top of that division. And now the Rams have kind of come out of nowhere, and they're fighting for that top division spot as well. They might even be first right now, actually. I believe they are. And when you look at this matchup, the Vikings are 3-point favorites with an over under of 42.5 points. And this is coming off a game where Seattle was embarrassed at home by the Green Bay Packers. Now, Geno Smith was injured that game and missed a lot of that game. And so they just couldn't do anything offensively with Sam Howell. Now, Geno Smith will be back for this game, says that the knee is good. He's been a full participant in practice. And they're also getting Kenneth Walker back at running back, which is a big deal. He's a great player. So those are some things to keep in mind. What are your general thoughts, I guess, going into this game with the Vikings being 3-point favorites over an 8-6 Seattle Seahawks team who hasn't been as good lately as they started the season out, but they're getting healthy right now.
Yeah, they started out pretty hot, right? And then they got cold. They were like 3-3 at one point, and it even though you said Walker's back, he's still like 3.7 yards a carry, and like you told me earlier, their running game isn't that great. In fact, 200, a little over 200 of their yards which is only about 1,200, is from Geno Smith scrambling. So when he's got 15% of your rushing yards, it's maybe not the greatest thing in the world, but so I'm not. The running game is not going to scare me. I think our defense has rebounded, shutting down the Bears basically to where this the offensive weapons on the Bears scare me more than the offensive weapons on Seattle a little bit. I mean, Najigba is their number one receiver. I expected him to be pretty good, but I mean, I feel like there's bigger, more talented players, more established players on the Bears than the Seattle. I think the thing that is in their favor, it's home field, but we kind of already established that it's not as great of a home field advantage as it was before. But I don't think we've gone to Seattle with this good of team, but I can't remember. I can't remember a game where we went to Seattle with this good of a team.
Yeah, DK Metcalf, great receiver, but you're right. JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba has been their number one this year. So I wouldn't rule out DK. You can't let that guy get behind you.
True.
He's very, very good. Their offensive line, I think I respect their weapons. When we talk about the Bears, I think I would rate the Seahawks weapons over the Bears. And the reason I'm saying this is because Roma Dunze is good, but he's still a rookie. And so he's shown you some of that inconsistency, to whereas JSN has a year under his belt. He's been very good in his second year so far. And then you got DK Metcalf, who's a really good receiver as well. So you kind of have your DJ Moore, Rumba versus JSN, DK Metcalf. I think I would just give a little bit of a bump there to the Seahawks. And then you got Keenan Allen, he's good, but he's old. And I think he showed that in the game against the Vikings. But the Seahawks offensive line is a mess. I mean, they are really struggling. You got Charles Cross, left tackle. He's actually playing really well. But other than him, especially that right side of the line, it's really poor. So the Vikings defensively will look to attack that offensive line. And we're also looking at the forecast here, it's supposed to rain. It's going to be about 45 to 48 degrees, 10-mile-per-hour winds with gust up to 20-mile-per-hour, and pretty consistent rain throughout the game. So it might be tough conditions to throw the football in a day like this. So, despite them having such really good receivers, it might be tough to get them the football.
So there's been some crazy games. As long as it's not too windy, it always seems like the offense has an advantage when it comes to slippery fields. I feel that way, don't you? There's always been like these games where it's been snowing And it looked like, I mean, we were in a game like that, I think maybe with the Patriots one year, where just like everybody was scoring at will, because it was snowing out and the offense just had, an advantage in that situation. So as long as it doesn't get too windy, and who has the bigger hands at quarterback maybe had the better advantage of it. Yeah, I mean, I that's where I kind of leaned on my over unders, is that we, some of our top receivers are going to have big days, just because I felt like we might throw it short and they might run with it, and the offense has the advantage when it comes to slippery fields and stuff. That's the way I felt about it.
Yeah, I believe Seattle's turf, so it'll get slippery, but I don't think it'll get untenable like it can at Green Bay or Chicago when you need like those really deep cleats to get traction, and it just looks like a shit show out there. So I agree with you. Typically, when it gets slippery, you just get no pass rush, right? Because
Hmm.
they can't fly around the corner. So we'll see how that goes. I do think that both teams are going to try to run the football more than what they typically do, which leads us into our breakdown. So let's go with Seattle's offensive breakdown. So offensively, this is a team that's putting up 357 yards a game, which is good for 13th in the NFL. They are the fifth leading passing team in the NFL with 240 yards per game, but they are the 28th leading rushing team with only 94 yards a game on the ground. Okay, so this is not a team like we were talking about earlier that really likes to run the football. They're really trying to throw the ball offensively. Points, they are 14th in points, scoring 22.5 a game, and their third down percentage offensively is 37%, which is good for 18th. So nothing that really wows me with those numbers except for their passing yards per game. They definitely like to throw the football. Geno Smith is a guy who likes to take risk. He will throw you the ball. So good opportunity for the Vikings there. This is not a good run offense going against a good run defense in the Minnesota Vikings. So if it's a really bad weather game, it actually is going to benefit the Vikings more so than it would benefit the Seahawks, which is good. Defensively, Seattle gives up 358 yards a game, which is good for 21st, but they do have a decent pass defense. They only give up 213 yards a game, which is 12th in the NFL. Okay. Now, rushing defense, they are 22nd, giving up 127 yards. So, again, if this is a really bad weather game, this bodes well for the Vikings running the ball and stopping the run. Um, Finally, points given up. They give up 22.4 a game. That's good for 15th in the league. Third down defense, they're 15th. So, by most statistics, the Vikings are just a flat out better team than the Seahawks. So then it really comes down to, if it's poor weather, who does that benefit? And in my mind, I think it benefits the Vikings more. And we're saying we're not as scared as the home field advantage. So just kind of talking about all of this and then looking at the statistics, I'm actually feeling much better going into this game than I was earlier when I had looked at this game on the schedule and I just marked it as an L for us because we always lose in Seattle type of thing.
Yeah, initially. Yeah, that's where I think I've done like a revamped schedule prediction, and I picked us to lose at Seattle, but that was about 5 or 6 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Probably when we were in like a little tougher time. But now it's like, this is a team we're better than. We should beat them. There isn't as big as advantages anymore. Uh, we travel well, both as a team performance wise and, like you said, fans. We got so much going for us. I don't feel like in any way trap games, or I don't think this qualifies. I think this is we seem to win so nonchalantly against Chicago, where it's like we're facing a little better, we're a little better team than Chicago, as a whole, that we've kind of taken that test, facing Chicago. I think we're ready. We got kind of like the bugs out maybe in this last game, and they did have a pretty good defense in Chicago. And Seattle apparently doesn't have as good a one. So I think our offense will just be fine. Our defense is got the kinks out, and I think they can go 2 in a row here, and that's why I reflect that in my pick six.
Well, caveat though about their defense. So when you look under a microscope, I am a little bit worried about their interior defensive line with Leonard Williams getting pressure. He's one of the leading interior pressure guys in the league. He's going to be a handful for guys like Bradbury, Blake Brandel. I do feel better if he's on Reisner because I think Reisner can lose slowly enough to let Sam function and win. So that'll be a big matchup for the Vikings interior offensive line. And then Boye Mafe is a defensive end from the University of Minnesota. He's really good, really explosive, fast around the edge. So we're going to have to block him up. Sounds like Brian O'Neill is healthy and good to go for this game. Hopefully he lines up a lot against Brian O'Neill. I do worry a little bit about Cam Robinson and his matchup against Boye Mafe because Mafe's really fast around the edge. I feel like Cam Robinson can struggle with speed at times. So that'll be something worth monitoring. But again, this is a defense that we can run the football on. I kind of hope that Kevin O'Connell comes out here and carries a little bit of our second half against the Bears into this game where he was mashing that run button a lot and it was working.
Yeah. O'Connell is made, and again, he's my favorite coach, and he's just made good decisions in game lately. I think this is his best year of. Now there was some time, I still have my little quirks about him when he, goes shotgun at the 2, but he hasn't done that in a while. Second down and goal at the 2, and he's running shotgun, and I want him to run play action, and some of these trick plays, but he's pretty steady in this last game. He mixed in Cam Akers, which I loved. He was very creative on getting the ball to Justin. With a screenplay. He's bringing back creative screenplays is I was pretty happy with. Cam Robinson's got to get over that last game. It was awful with the penalties. So if he can iron that out, and yeah, one of the things you talked about is I kind of feel like we're gonna have thrown a lot more shorter passing plays to and that's why I'm not as worried about this pass rushes them because he's probably taking weather into consideration. And one of the reasons why I picked Jordan Addison spoiler to go over is that I felt like that's what's going to happen with Jordan Addison. Is he going to catch the ball short? Yeah. Make somebody miss, and the pass rush won't have time to get there. And I think it might be a learning thing from O'Connell because that's he was getting bitten a lot by the pass rush coming up the middle, and we had longer developing plays. I think Kevin O'Connell will adapt, and I think this is a game to do that. But yeah, that's why I'm not as worried about that. But it was a great point by you.
Yeah, I agree. With this being a lower over under 42.5, 3-point spread with the Vikings. This is in a weather game that you mentioned. I think that turnovers are going to be crucial. You got to win the turnover battle in a game like this. And number 2, your kicker's got to make kicks in a game like this. So will the thrill, come through for us, baby? Because this could be one of those games where you see a lot of field goals because it's just tough to move the ball in these types of conditions. So what's your confidence level on will the thrill right now?
Pretty high. That was a great performance this last game. The one miss when he came back, it was straight as an arrow. He just aimed it right at the goalpost.
Yeah.
It's like, so if it was a shank or a wobbler, I would feel a lot worse. But he made it. He's got a game ball for just making field goals, which is crazy. So I think Kevin O'Connell obviously has the confidence in him. I think he scored me 15 points in my fantasy league. So yeah, it's like I started him coming back. I had Romo. I went and got Romo. I got rid of Romo, and then Riker because I have that much faith in him. I just haven't had this much faith in a kicker ever. ever. So
Yeah. Yeah, me too, man. Honestly, such a great draft pick, and knock on whatever real wood you
and
have
I
close
hate
to you.
drafting kickers
Yeah.
and punters. I hate it. And
Excuse me.
this is the one I approve of now.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just been a delight to have him as our kicker. For me, seeing if the Vikings lose this game, like what happened, other than just like turnovers, obvious things. It's that the Seattle Seahawks were able to throw the ball on us successfully. That's what I see. Like that's what they're good at. That's their superpower. So we have Stephon Gilmore back. He's ready to roll. Byron
Looks
Murphy's
like
been on one. He's
Fabian
been
Moreau
great.
is out.
Yep. Shaq Griffin's been good. I saw that the Vikings are elevating um, one of the backup safeties, Bobby McCain, who has a little bit of
Oh,
corner safety flexibility. That came from Matthew Collar. Saw that tweet today. So then I responded to Matthew. I said, this must mean that Harrison Smith is not going to play because Harrison Smith has been on the injury report with a foot injury. And Matt responded to me saying, well, maybe, maybe not. He does have corner safety flexibility. So we'll see. But so maybe Harrison Smith is out, but I would say that Theo Jackson is next man up, and Theo's a pretty good safety. So I wouldn't be too concerned if we're missing Harry.
yeah, it shows him his limited practice on Friday. He didn't practice on Thursday, but he was also limited on Wednesday.
Okay.
So I don't know. You would think
But
he'd if he could play, he'd play, but yeah.
hopefully this defense continues its rise because it took a step back there for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
But against Chicago, they look damn good. And hopefully we continue that because we're going to need them here these next 3 weeks. Seattle, home against Green Bay, at Detroit. We're going to need that defense step up.
Yeah, we went from giving up 495 to Atlanta to 295 to Chicago. So that was pretty impressive. Or not even less than that, like 285. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was pretty impressive.
Any other thoughts about the breakdown here? Vikings going into Seattle.
I think you had said what you said, the turnover. If we can keep are we I think we're the only team that's caused a turnover in every game throughout the season.
That's true.
Um I think if we don't turn I think if we don't turn the ball over at all, we win the game. I don't see us losing the game if we don't turn the ball over. I don't think we have to get a turnover to win this game, but if we're not turning the ball over, we win. If we get one or two turnovers, then we're winning by 2 touchdowns against these guys. I feel like we gotta, and we've been good lately at keep
Yeah.
holding on to the ball. So this is again, it's just a big, it's a kind of a, it's a mind block of winning at Seattle.
Yeah.
It's like it's there, and if we can bust through that wall, it's a big step. I know people are thinking it. I know the team's thinking it. I know the coaches are thinking it.
Yeah.
This history of this team, and they're going to tell you, they're going to say, hey, some of you guys haven't been here long enough to know this, but that it might not even affect them. They may not even thinking about it. So that's a nice little quirk because we've turned this roster over quite a bit. That this might not be a thing to them, but you know for us as fans, it's probably more us than is the
Yeah.
team. But teams, players were talking about it. Players were talking about it, so I know it's been talked about.
Were they? What? I didn't
Yeah,
see that.
I think there was a couple locker room interviews. Like we haven't won there in a while, and things like that.
Yeah, like
I
Harrison
remember
Smith,
hearing a
I can
couple
see
clips. I
that.
couldn't tell you who said it, but
Yeah. I don't think the coaching staff is focusing on that. I doubt that they really talked about that. The coaching staff, they're doing what they're always doing, where they're saying, this is our task this week, right? These are the things we need to do to win, right? Kevin O'Connell in his post-game speeches, he's always like, what did we talk about last night, guys? We talked about this. We talked about this. You guys went out and did that. We won the ball game. So he's going to have these guys ready to roll. That's just the beautiful thing about Kevin O'Connell is that you never feel like this team is unprepared. Like some games with Zimmer, you're like, where the fuck is this team? Nobody showed up, right?
we have had a couple of those. But yeah, they were Zimmer. Yeah, there was quite a few with Zimmer. Well, especially the NFC title game.
Do you have an example off the top of your head? Because I really
Yeah,
don't with
Dallas.
Dallas. So
We
that
got our
that
ass
game
handed to us
that
in
game
Dallas.
coming off of the Bills game. So yeah,
Yeah,
you can say that. You can say that you didn't like their plan to handle the pressure that Dallas was throwing at us. That's totally fair.
yeah.
But
I mean,
at some point it
that
does come
ended
down to the
Cousins'
Jimmy.
touchdown record.
Yeah.
Yeah, where we sat on the whole second half.
Well, at some point though it does come down to the Jimmies and Joes, and our Jimmies were not blocking their Joes that game. They
Yeah, I
just
mean, we had a
weren't.
left tackle, but we weren't chipping. We were just
Yeah,
letting him on an
exactly.
island. We
Yeah.
were letting Brandel be on an island, so that was an unprepared situation right there.
Christian Darrisaw goes out early with a concussion, with like a matter of like the first drive. I think he was out, and then you had Micah Parsons going up against God, who knows who was playing that day. I don't remember.
Brandel,
Was it Brandel? Yeah,
Brandel played,
that was game over.
but
But
the next game we adjusted and we were chipping a lot for Brandel. But gosh, any game this year, not really. But last year with the turnovers and even when we came out and played Kansas City, the first fucking play of the game was a fumble, right?
yeah,
It
and
just
that's not on him. Like
well,
that's just the players hold on to the damn ball. You
I would
know?
yeah, I lean that way, but again, who went out and bought pogo sticks from Amazon to make sure he coached that out of him? So
Yeah.
he I'm sure he felt like he needed to do something other than just tell him to hold on the fucking ball. He needed to coach it out of him. So yeah. So
Which
there,
is
I mean,
unfortunate. I mean, they're professional football players. They should know how to hold on to the
I think the
football.
Eagles
Yeah.
game and
Yeah. Justin Jefferson fumbled on the
22
1 yard line, extending for the
the Eagles game in 22 was
mhm.
absolute disaster.
Brandon Powell fumbles a punt return. Justin Jefferson fumbled it through the end zone for a touchback.
That was last year, but the 2 years ago with 22, we got our ass handed to us in the second game of the season. In 22.
Don't remember that one off the
Yeah.
top of my head, but
It was Cousins had a few interceptions, but Justin Jefferson quit on a play.
oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yep, I
yeah,
remember that.
it
But
was yeah, it
I
was a
mean,
bad
point
game.
stands. We both love Kevin O'Connell. This guy is phenomenal coach, favorite for coach of the year right now. Been fighting with Detroit fans all weekend about how, in my opinion, it should be Kevin O'Connell over Dan Campbell for obvious reasons. You know, their biggest point is that they have 20 players on IR, yet they're still 12-2. I'm like, well, a lot of your players on IR like weren't starters, right? So, and then some of these players just went on IR recently, like David Montgomery and McNeil, the defensive tackle, Carlton Davis. But yeah, I mean, they did lose Hutch, right, pretty early in the season,
Mhm.
and
Only
they've made
replacement was Darius Smith though, and he's been playing great.
he's been playing well. So, but when you look at the entire picture in terms of expectations coming into the year, the amount that the head coach actually dictates the outcomes of the game, Kevin O'Connell dictates the outcome of the game because he is the play caller of the game, right? And just with expectations going from a 6.5 win total to now doubling that up before the end of the season and being tied with the potential to go get the number one seed in the NFC, it's not a contest. It's Kevin O'Connell. He's the coach of the year.
Yeah, I mean, you resurrect a QB's career. You get rid of your your quarterback that won you 17 went 17-7. You go to a new guy that has a horrible winning record at 6 and 3/4 yards per attempt. You resurrect his career. No, I mean, I was just talking to a Jets fan today, and he goes, "Sam Darnold was awful for us. It was awful for us." And I'm like, now he's one of probably 5 candidates for MVP. I don't think he gets it. I think there's 2 guys that are just kind of stand out to me that kind of dwarf what he's doing. But just to turn that around, and then the defense is completely flipped since he started. It just the amount of weapons, bringing staying staying with a winning record until Hawkinson came back. Just It's just and the expectations are the number one things. Now they weren't my expectations,
Right.
but the media and
Vegas sets so much.
media Vegas.
I mean,
Not Nick Swardson, whatever his name is, 15-2. You said,
yeah, I know that's hilarious. That's trending right now.
yeah.
Towards
It's
a
showing up in
possibility.
my it's showing up in my YouTube For You page here. It's like one of the top videos that it's wanting me to watch from
Yeah.
4 months ago. 4
Earlier you brought up the term trap game,
Yeah.
and in my opinion, like where the Vikings are right now with a chance to fight for that number 1 seed, and as Kevin O'Connell said in his post-game speech against the Bears, earn the right to play as many home games as we can in the playoffs. I don't think that you can call any game in the next 3 weeks a trap game, including this game, just because of the importance that is laid out in front of them right now.
Yeah, every single game is important. I mean, you could say, and it's late in the season to where, hey, we control our destiny, so there's no surprises coming.
Right.
Nothing should surprise us. We're not coming off a short week. We're not coming off a big victory. A big emotional victory. It's a good team. It's not a great team. It's a good team. We're playing on the road. This is nothing to do with taking us by surprise. Nothing.
Right. Matthew Collar this week talked to a beat writer for the Seattle Seahawks, and their tone was actually very much like, "Oh, Vikings are winning this game, no questions asked." And that was interesting. He just thinks that the coaching disparity between these two clubs is completely different. It's a vast change from
I
what
think
Seattle
all of
has.
ESPN picked us to win.
I saw that too. Yep, even Adam Rank.
Yeah.
Um,
Shocker.
and that's when a lot of Vikings fans were quote tweeting that and being like, "Well, it was a good run. 12-3 still good." You know what I mean? Just because woe is me, Vikings fans. But I was surprised to see that. I absolutely was. Like not even 2-3 people picked Seattle, the home squad, to win. But I think that,
They might have
them
not thought their quarterback could be back too. So
that and then just them getting their ass beat by Green Bay at home probably put a sour taste in everybody's mouth. They do say that you don't want to, play a team after they get embarrassed because especially this team who's still fighting for the playoffs right now. So they are going to give us everything they got. But I just believe in our defense to pressure Gino, make him make mistakes, and I think we can get a couple from him. And I think the Vikings do win this game. We'll pick our game later, but I did want to look at some of the other NFC games that are important for the Vikings and their quest towards the division, towards the number 1 seed. The Detroit Lions play the Chicago Bears in Chicago. That's a noon kickoff game, and the Lions are currently favorited by 6.5 points. I'm going to look up the weather for you guys in Chicago right now. Currently, where I reside, it's 13 degrees. Tomorrow around noon, it's going to be, let's see here, it's going to be about 32 degrees. And it looks like it's going to be mild with no snow, no precipitation. Let's check on the wind here. Wind is going to be about 10 to 15 mile per hour with gusts up to 25 miles per hour. So, you know what? This is a cold, little bit of a windy game. Could we see Jared Goff struggle in the cold?
yeah, Jared Goff's had some stinkers in his career, and where's this game at? At Chicago, right?
This is in Chicago, yep.
And Montgomery is their tough yardage guy, right? I almost felt like that's almost an upgrade because Gibbs, I feel like, is the more like when we played them, I was like, Gibbs is better.
He is.
I just felt Gibbs was better, and if he just gave him the ball more, he might be tearing us apart. That's the way I felt during that game. I'm like, oh, good, they put Montgomery back in. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
The whole game is
I have a
okay.
hot
We got a
take.
chance. They're putting Montgomery back in.
Yeah, I have a hot take for you.
Oh, go ahead.
Gibbs is the best running back in the NFL right now. Better than Saquon. Is that pretty hot?
Probably pretty hot.
I don't
People
think
like names, though. You know,
I don't think they
I'm not gonna.
showcase.
I wouldn't shun you for saying that.
I just think from a dynamic ability, he catches the football, but like when he has a lane, he's so fast. That guy is so fast. And he's got moves. He has a little power behind him too. Versus Achan, like the small guy from Miami, he gets a
Yeah.
hole, he can be gone, and he's an awesome receiver. I think he's leading that team in receiving yards right now. But where it's different is that Gibbs can actually run behind his pads a little bit. But anyways, I am 100% agreement with you. I think Gibbs is the better back on that team. I think David Montgomery going out will display that. I think he's going to have a hell of a game against Chicago.
Yeah, too bad that's the team I got out of the playoffs on my fantasy league. But I have Achan in my league that's in the semifinals though.
I have Achan
So
and Gibbs.
I got Achan, I got Cook from Buffalo, and I got Aaron Jones
Nice.
all on the same team. So I'm pretty fucking good.
So
I'm
my
set.
running back room starting is Bucky Irving, Aaron Jones, Gibbs, and Achan.
Oh,
So I'm
that's
looking
really
pretty good.
too.
Looking pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking good.
And then my receivers, I have DK Metcalf going, Mike Evans, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown.
That's
This
pretty
is
good.
This is a dynasty
I
league,
have
so sold my
Jefferson,
soul a little bit.
and I have Jefferson, Evans, and Adams.
Okay.
And then my quarterback, Josh Allen.
Oh,
My tight end, TJ Hawkinson.
oh,
And
you're
I
doing
think
well.
and my defense I think's the Eagles now.
Oh, dude, you're killing it.
Oh,
That's
and my
a great
kick,
team.
Reichard. I made a
Nice.
trade preseason trading off McCaffrey.
Yeah, Josh Allen's my quarterback as well. It's a 2 quarterback, so I got Jaden Daniels as well.
Yeah, that's pretty good having him.
So
Yeah,
going
this
back,
is a 10-team standard league. 1.8 APR.
So looking at this Detroit Chicago game, it's not out of question that Chicago can upset the Lions in Chicago. It's not. Do I see it happening? No, but we've seen that defense give Jared Goff problems, and it's going to be cold. The Lions might have trouble throwing the football in Chicago. Now I do see the Lions running all over them, though. I think Gibbs is going to have a great game. With that said, though, if the Bears can find some offensive stability against a really beat up Lions defense, I can see the Bears winning this game by a field goal, like a last second field goal. I can see that. Which
I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibilities, and they're just so down right now defensively, and anybody can score on them right now. It's just
that would be huge for Minnesota because it spots us a game. Okay, so let's just say that the Vikings lose one of the next 2 against Seattle or against the Packers at home. Well, we can still go into Detroit and beat them in week 18 for the division. So that makes all the difference. Now, if the Eagles get the number 1 seed, that's okay. You still get a home playoff game. All right. So you're going to be the 2 seed in that
2 home
scenario.
playoff games if you win.
Yeah. So correct. So you'll be, so that's huge. So if the Bears could do us a huge favor tomorrow, that would be awesome. If not, same old Bears. The other game that we need to look out for, the Eagles are playing at Washington. The Eagles are currently favored by 4 points at Washington. That over-under is 45.5. The Eagles are on absolute fire. With that said, Washington's a good team too, and this is in Washington. So we'll watch that one. We'll be pulling for the Washington Commanders to win because we are fighting for the 1 seed in this scenario. So, you're hoping the Eagles drop at least 1 or 2 just to make that path just a little bit easier for the Vikings. But if the Vikings do win out, we should have the 1 seed. So it's what do they say? Our destiny's in our hands, right?
Yeah.
And I think
we control our own destiny.
We control our own destiny. Thank you. That's pretty much it. Packers play Monday night. They're 14-point favorites over the Saints. The Saints are starting nobody, so it's not even going to be worth watching. We're actually going to go live on Monday night, so come join us Monday night and then break down the Vikings game. Hopefully the Vikings win over Seattle. And then you got Rams Jets. That's one to watch for as well. The Rams, that's a noon game. The Rams are 3-point favorite over the Jets. That'd be nice if the Jets could beat them, honestly, because I don't really want any of that smoke in the playoffs from the Rams. Team scares me.
You mean the Jets to beat the Rams?
Yeah, I'd like the Jets to beat the Rams.
Yeah, I thought you said the other way around. Yeah, I'd much rather face a rookie quarterback for Atlanta in a playoff game than I would the Rams.
I'd rather play Atlanta. I'd rather play Arizona. I'd rather play Seattle than the Rams, any of those teams. Well, that concludes our primer. Did you want to do our pick six or pick the game?
I guess I was confusing Tampa and the Rams, but yeah, who's Tampa play?
Let's see. Tampa plays the Cowboys in Dallas. They are
It might be
4.5.
hard.
Yeah, that
They
might
could
be a
lose
tough
that
game.
game.
Dallas is playing pretty well right now, especially defensively.
Yeah, they
But
could win. They could win that game, and they'd be tied. And Atlanta's got the tiebreaker.
And Vikings fans, we are rooting for Dallas. We don't want to play Tampa right now. So let me just say this. I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, you don't want to play these guys. You don't want to play these guys. Like, it's the playoffs. You're going to have to play some good teams, right? But what I'm saying is I would rather play the Falcons, the Cardinals, the Seahawks. You know what I mean? But if it comes down to it and we have to go out to Tampa Bay or we have to go out to the Rams, bring it on. You know why? Because the Vikings are pretty damn good this year.
Yeah, I'd rather go south than west. Too.
I agree.
So yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Hey, if they go to Tampa Bay, you trying to go to that game?
Oh shit! Yeah, I would freaking try to sell my soul for that game. Just
How
to
far
see.
is the drive up to?
4 hours, 4.5 hours. But yeah, I would go to that.
That'd be fun.
Been working my ass off, so I, can go do shit now. I missed every game this year. I was gonna go to Jacksonville, didn't. I was gonna go to Nashville, didn't. I was gonna go to the opener, didn't.
Yeah.
But we want to do our pick six.
Let's do our pick six, and then we'll pick the game.
So Justin Jefferson, 79.5 yards. What do you got, Skulldog?
We both said over. He's Justin freaking Jefferson, right? This feels like a low number for him. 80 yards. It just feels like he clears that, even through manufactured catches or one big, a couple big catches here or there. I just think he clears it despite the weather concerns. Despite the Seahawks having the 12th overall pass defense, I just think that he finds a way to clear that number.
Yeah. I said what I said about I think offense got an advantage in wet weather, slippery weather. I just feel like we're gonna focus our offense around getting the ball to him early rather than long developing plays. But yeah, I just think he was if he gets that touchdown, he goes on to have a bigger game than he did last week. He's ready to. I think that bothered him. I think that really bothered him. He's going to shoot for 100 this game. I think if anybody, he knows the history of us as a player. I think he really relishes in the history. The way he talks about our receivers. I just think he likes to make a mark. This would be a game that he could say, "Hey, we broke that losing streak in Seattle." I think he pays attention to history. I think this is a big game for him.
Yeah.
We got so both over on that. Aaron Jones. I took the over because I listened to Skoldock. He just spit spear gold. They're not a good run defense. We're going to focus on the run in a weather game like this early and often, probably. Just to set the tone, I think. And we have done that this year. We have come out running the ball. He's still the number one back. They still don't give his backup too many carries. So yeah, I think 64.5 is the easy number for him.
Yeah, well said. I agree.
Right. Jordan Addison, 53.5. What do you got?
Yeah, I took the over. This guy's on fire. 53 seems like a low number for him. Despite weather concerns, he can reach this with 2 catches, the way that they throw the ball to him deep when he gets singled coverage. And then to your point, this might be a game due to weather and wet concerns where he just runs 10-yard routes over and over, or
Catch
like
and runs.
catch and
Yeah.
run or 10-yard outs. Uh, he's just so good at like that out route past the stick. So he might catch 3 of those, and before you know it, he's already at this number. So
Hey,
despite weather concerns, give me the over.
he's got this is a guy that I talk about that has body control, and I don't think weather affects this dude. I don't think anything affects this dude. I talk about nothing gets in his head. He's
Mhm.
a player since day one that I said nothing really gets into this guy's head. He seems ready from the go. He's been that this whole time. And I think this is a game where he don't pay attention to anything, any outside factors, weather, wind, whatever. He's catching the ball. He's going to turn to run. And I think if anybody to have a big game, it'd be him.
Yeah.
TJ Hawkinson, you had a lot to say about him.
Yeah, I picked the over. He's been heating up like we talked about. He hasn't really had the long catches as of late, that we've kind of known from TJ Hawkinson, where he can get a 40-yarder, 50-yarder here and there. But with a game like this where you're expecting rain, bad conditions, this might be one where you see the average depth of target from Sam Darnold drop quite a bit. Like you had mentioned, it's going to be a lot of the quicker passing game. So he's going to run a lot of stick concept, option route underneath, mashed up on a linebacker, shake him, catch a ball for 5-6 yards. And he might catch like 5 or 6 of those. And before you know it, he's at 50 yards. So despite the weather, we've picked 3 overs now for the passing game. I
Yeah,
just think
my
that
point and my point is that, and it's funny. Well, I'll say my point when we get to Sam Darnold. But I picked the over too. I think our focus is these 3 guys. That's one of my main things is these
yeah.
3 receivers. But we got Geno Smith. This is a one we differed on.
Mhm.
I took the under because I think we're gonna steal their soul in this game. I just feel like yeah, we've done that to quarterbacks this year, and I think we just did it to the Bears. And I think he's coming off an injury. I, who knows how much practice he's had or reps he's had. I would love to play Sam Howell right now, but
Mhm.
I think everybody in the world would. And I was high on that guy coming out of college. But yeah, I think this is a game much like the Bears where we're dominating. I just feel like we're going to dominate these guys.
My thought process with this, and I do agree with your injury standpoint, like one hit and he could easily hit the under just because he's not finishing this game. But they averaged 240 yards passing a game, and the Vikings on defense average giving up 245 yards a game. So the under number to me of 230, like it's going against what these teams have done so far this season historically. But with it being a wet, rainy game with some wind, I could definitely see the under hitting. I just thought that game script wise, I expected the Vikings to be winning most of this game, and I expect Seattle to stick to what they've been doing most of the year, which is trying to move the ball through the air. The Vikings have been pretty leaky between the 20s to the passing game when they're not forcing turnovers. So that's kind of my thought process. I think this might be the only one that we differed on this week, actually. So
Yep.
we'll see which one hits.
So Sam Darnold, we both took the under. My thought process is all the offensive players we did the over on. I just felt like that we haven't been spreading the ball around as much, and we've been really focusing on Addison, Hawkinson, and Jefferson, and that only adds up to like 180 some yards on the over under. That you could easily still be the under, and also it hedges a bet if one of these guys, you know, if he gets the under, it's because of one of those guys didn't get the over. And that's kind of like a hedge my bet. But I do believe that it's because he's been focusing on these 3 guys. We are going to focus on the run a little bit. But those just the numbers for Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson just feel low to me. And it's well lower than Sam Darnold's 244.5 here. I feel like it could happen, but you got him You got them under 2. Is that right?
I do have the under.
And why do you got them under?
Same reasons. I think that a lot of this offense is going to go through those 3 primary pass catching options: Justin Jefferson, Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. And with the weather, I think the Vikings are going to lean more on running the football versus trying to throw the ball. If he's going to hit 250, that tells me that it's going to be a closer game where they have to keep throwing the ball to keep this game close or to go for the win. And I just don't see that in the script. I think the Vikings are going to be leading in the second half comfortably and just keep running the football.
And after last week, we're tied. You went 5-1. I went 3-3. So not good for me.
All right. You want me to pick the game first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Much like the last game, and if Jefferson would have not dropped a touchdown, I felt like I would have hit pretty good on it. I feel really similar about this game. I am gonna tone it down because maybe the wind does pick up and it's a problem. So I'm gonna go. I wanted to go 34-17, but I'm gonna go 30-17. Let me make it 31. No, we're gonna have some field goals. 30. I'm gonna make it 30-17. 30-17.
30-17. Okay. I like that 17 number a lot. The Vikings are averaging giving up 18 points a game. With the weather kind of thrown in there, I could see the Seahawks getting a couple touchdowns, maybe a field goal or two. So I like that, like 17 to 20 points, Vikings giving up about that. And I'm going to say that they're going to score less than 30 points. I'm going to say somewhere closer to like 24. So I'll go 24-17 Vikings.
You heard it here first, folks. Skoldock's not sure about the Vikings win. He only has us beating them by 7.
Hey, they clear the spread of 3 points. So
I'm just kidding.
Take the Vikings.
I'm kidding,
and the
but
spread.
both of us agree that we're going to break this curse in Seattle.
Let's see what the betting market says. Let me open that up.
Yeah,
real
that'd
quick.
be cool.
Hold, please. It's loading. So last week, the market was pretty heavy on the Vikings. And this week,
they were right, and I wish I bet on it.
88% of the bets have been placed on the Vikings money line versus only 12% on the Seahawks. And then 79% are betting on the Vikings to clear the spread. So money likes the Vikings.
And we're the Purple Chiefs this year, guys.
And
the calls.
80% are picking the over this week in this game.
Yeah, I have us 47 points, so you have us 41, so you got the under.
Yeah, right? Weather. Yep, I chose the under because of the weather.
Yeah, and again, I'm totally screwed if it's windy. That's the way I feel. If it's windy, I'm kind of screwed.
Yeah, I don't think the wind, it's not supposed to be inhibitive, but there is a chance of gusting up to 25, which can be tough to throw in.
I think if we were scoring 30 with an off week by Sam Darnold, I just I think he's going to bounce back from that little rough. And it wasn't that bad of a week, honestly. No. He just wasn't as accurate as he has been. And so, yeah, we're going to take this one.
I love it. Book it. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Skol Vikes. Let's go get that win.
Skol Vikes.